our presenter, Jen Laura. I'll introduce her in a couple moments. My name is Sonia Gladwin, and I am with the Corporate Training Group here at Anne Arundel Community College. I am the director of the Corporate Training Group, and as many of you know because you do work with us, we are the training and contracting arm of the college. The college was established back in 1961, so we have quite a number of years of roots in the community. We are a fully credited two-year institution, as many of you are aware, many locations throughout the county, and we currently serve about 47,000 students annually, which makes us about the 7th largest college in the state. The Corporate Training Group is presenting the webinar today, as I mentioned, and we are the response team that brings these types of resources to your organization. So if you are looking for training or consulting services, please feel free to visit our website at www.ctgaacc.com for more information. Today's webinar, we will be using some interactive tools. So before we get started, I just want to make sure that we're all familiar of some of the tools that we're able to use. If you go to the left-hand column of your screen, there is a chat feature, like many of the webinars that you may have attended previously. You can click the drop-down box all the way at the bottom, send a particular person a message, or it should be set to a default of send to everyone. So if Jen asks for a response, you can go ahead and type your responses in that chat feature, and everyone will be able to see your response to a question or if you have a comment. Feel free to use that at any time, and if you are really feeling froggy, you can go ahead and test it now. There's also a bar at the top of your screen that you're able to interact as we go along. If you're fine, which you are set as a default, there will be nothing set next to your name. But if you click that drop-down box under Interact at the top of the screen, you'll be able to raise your hand for a question. You'll be able to say yes or no. If we're going too slow, you can tell us to speed up, and the same to slow down. So those are a couple features that we will be using today. Without further ado, and thank you, Vanessa, for testing your chat feature, I'd like to introduce you to our presenter, Jen Laura. She is a professor here with the Teacher Education Teach Institute through the Continuing Education and Workforce Development Department. She is also the director of our Center for Faculty and Staff Development. We're really excited to have Jen here. She's done a couple of webinars for us in the past, and we're really looking forward to her insight on identifying your core values. Jen, would you like to take it away?
Yeah, thanks, Sonia. I appreciate the introduction. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Vanessa, I see that you have figured out the chat box on the left, and I know some people could have called in by phone, so of course we're not going to be able to see your thoughts in the chat box. But if you are sitting at a computer or laptop right now, if you would type in a message there, and the message I'd love to know is, who are you and where did you come from? So Vanessa, I see you're in Baltimore. If you're willing to share where you're working or what your role is, you can just type your name in there now, and that will help me figure out who our audience is today. So right now, if you have a moment, type in your message. Who are you? Where are you from? And we're going to get started with today's webinar while you all are doing that. Hello, Bonnie from Idaho. Thanks for joining us, Bonnie. Anyone else out there who's not on a phone right now? Let's see, Sonia from Goodwill. Thanks, Sonia, for joining in.
That's Great. A fabulous name.
From one Sonia to another. That is a good name. Yes, and she agrees. Anyone else who's on a computer, if you want to jump in, Noelle is in from Anne Arundel, DPW. That Department of Public Works. Vanessa from MDOT, thanks for joining. Scott from Dave Co. and Wendy's in Maryland, fantastic. Lovely. Okay. And if you are just joining us or you haven't found that chat feature, please jump in. And of course, if you're listening, you'll just have to follow along. So before we begin, today's topic is very coachy. And one of the things we do in coaching is we always take an opportunity to design our relationship. So there's a few things that I'm going to ask that you bring to our webinar today, which will be 1 hour long. The first thing I'm going to ask that you bring is a rookie mindset. So you know the topic is identifying your core values. And even if you have a PhD in this topic, I'm going to ask that you pretend like you're at karate class and you just got your brand new white belt. Put it on, and please bring a rookie mindset. It would be a total shame to leave the webinar and go, well, gosh, I didn't learn anything. It'd be more awesome to say, wow, I knew something. I can use this information, this new information, and riff on it in my work. So please, please bring a rookie mindset. If you're willing to do that, I can't see you, but just shake your head and just know that the rookie mindset will follow. The next thing I want to design in our relationship is that you're all in. You took the opportunity to sign up for this webinar. It is going to be highly interactive. And so with that being said, be all in. Try not to multitask. It's not the time to text somebody. It's not the time to answer emails. Make this a gift for you because you are totally worth the activities that we're going to do on identifying your core values. Also, I would love for you to bring some compassion. You heard in Sonia's introduction that I've only done a few webinars before, and today here I am again. So talk about me bringing some rookiness to this. I am, and I also have this weird scratchy voice lately. I don't know if I know a lot of you are in Maryland. You know the pollen count's a little high. I don't know, but my voice quality is a little strange right now. So please bring some compassion for me, not being the webinar queen just yet. I'm still trying to hone those skills. And last but not least, I really want to design in the relationship. What we're going to be talking about today is really important to who you are, and I'll talk more about why that's important in a moment. And it is probably equally as important to the people that you work with. And so I would want to encourage you, and I hope you do reach out to me. My email will be at the end, and reach out to Sonia, who kicked off this webinar. If the college, if Sonia or I can be of any help to really deepen the work that we're going to do today during this webinar. So again, 4 things. Shake your head if you can agree. The rookie mindset, yes. Be all in for our webinar together. Be compassionate for me, please. And then reach out, because I think some of you are going to want more for yourself, but certainly for the people that you work with. All right. Sonia mentioned there is that chat box. At any time you want to ask a question or even make a comment, throw it in that box. It will be seen by everyone for the most part, unless you choose just me or another participant. But please use that, because Sonia is going to help me sort of keep track of those comments, and I'll be looking there from time to time as well. So before we begin, let's use that chat box on the left. Back almost a year ago, I did a webinar on Zappos and things that I learned from spending time at Zappos's headquarters in Las Vegas. Could you let me know off in that chat box if you attended or listened to that Zappos webinar? I'm curious. So I'll give you a moment. You can either type in, no, I wasn't there, or yes, I was there. Or if I don't hear from you, I will presume. All right, Noelle just let me know she listened. Good to know. Totally cool. Anybody else participate in that? Listen, share it with a friend. I did not attend or listen. No problem, Sonia. Just super curious, because we talked a lot that day about core values. So that is why I want to know. Webinars are so weird. I'm so used to people. Seeing people. Corporate training, attended. Yes, you did. Scott missed it. Sorry. You don't have to apologize, Scott. And it's still available, so it's something you could always listen to after. Okay. All right. Well, this is good to know. It sounds like most people did not either attend nor listen, with the exception of one person so far. And so in some ways, the core values might be new information. All right. So let's move forward. What are core values? Okay. They're used a lot right now in business and in personal development. And let's give them more of a framework. So in the world of coaching, we say that core values are the things that are important to you. I like to think of core values as being your life compass. Okay, they are like your roadmap of life, and that includes, of course, work life as well, to what you think is most important to you, what brings you the most fulfillment. I also like to use core values in a way that makes it like a life target. So think about, I don't know, doing archery and you're pulling back the bow and arrow and there's a target out in the distance. That target is your core values. And so you can imagine having a life where you didn't have a target. What would you be aiming for? And so your core values really provide some structure and framework to provide not only a work target, but then a life target as well. There is a difference. There are individual core values, and today we are going to be talking about your core values specifically and doing an activity around them. And then there's also your organization has core values. And some organizations, if we use Zappos as an example, is very transparent about what their core values are. If you look online and just Google Zappos and their core values, you will see they have 10 of them. During the 4 to 5 week onboarding process, every new employee learns those core values inside and out. They actually memorize them. And at any moment, you could be at the Zappos headquarters and ask an employee which core value they're honoring, and they'll be able to tell you which number, what does that core value mean, and what they're actually doing. So it's pretty amazing when a company is that transparent about their core values. Then you might have an organization that does have core values, but either they're not super explicit about them, or they have some organizations that have core values, they're just not really living them. So there's a really lovely book, if you haven't read Tribal Leadership, that I recommend. It talks a lot about individual core values and organizational core values and what the relationship is between them. Not to give the whole book away, but what they say is that every organization has core values. You, of course, as an individual, come with core values. They make you who you are. And that the goal then is to be in alignment with your organization. It doesn't mean your organization has to agree wholeheartedly with your core values. For example, Zappos, one of that organization's core values, I think it's core value number 3, is to have fun and be a little weird. Well, I have shared that core value with some of my colleagues here at the community college. And even though they think that's an interesting core value, it's not one that they think resonates with them. And so that is true. And that's what Tribal Leadership says. It's not every organizational core value is going to resonate 100% with your own individual core values. However, there does need to be some alignment in order for the organization and the individual to thrive and for both of those to be fulfilled. Okay. So it's always a good checkpoint when you know your core values and you know the organization's core values to see if those two are in alignment. Okay. So with that being said, here are a bunch of companies that are extremely transparent about what they believe. Okay, if you've been to Sweet Green, that is a salad company out of Georgetown right here in Washington, D.C. They are now all over the country. I think the last article I saw was they had raised $20 million in investor money. They have a very explicit public set of core values that they live and breathe by. Inc. magazine, not necessarily, I don't know their core values, but they have a lot of information about core values, which is why I included them. But the rest of the companies listed here, REI, Southwest, I've mentioned Zappos now several times, and one of my favorite companies on the planet, Patagonia, all of those companies have a very explicit set of core values that they really hire by, they fire by, and they live by, which I think is really important. All right, so are you ready to identify your core values? That's where we are, but I want to give you a moment. I just shared a bunch about companies that have pretty explicit hardcore core values. We talked about what are core values. They're part of your life compass and your roadmap. Do you have any questions? And if you do, can you type them into our cute little message box over in the corner? I'll get those answered before we jump into an activity, okay? Giving you a moment. And would somebody mind giving me a little feedback? Can you hear me clear enough? Is my funny little froggy voice driving you insane? Is the pace good so far? Okay, at least Sonia can hear me clearly. Anyone else have any feedback before I continue or a question? I love these Sonias. You all are in. Oh, good. I'm clear enough from Idaho. That's great. You're doing well. Awesome. Okay. Then we will keep going. Awesome. All good. All right. Lovely. If something changes, please let me know. All right. So before we jump into this activity, I just want to point out that I'm saving us all money. And since there's 12 of us in this webinar right now, we are saving over $1,000, maybe even 2,000. I can't do the math that quickly. The reason I'm saving each of you money is because the activity that we're about to do is what I do with coaching clients. And I do this one-on-one, and I do this in small and medium-sized groups. And when I do it one-on-one, you know, my rate can be anywhere from $125 a session to $350 a session, depending on the client and what I need to bring to the coaching session. And so I am saving you guys money right now. Yahoo! Okay, Yahoo. So here's what you're going to need, and I'm going to give you a moment to get it. I hope you're not driving, because it would be really tricky to do this webinar if you are driving and listening. So you need some paper to write on. You need something to write with. Pen or pencil will do. And for those of you who prefer technology, you can certainly have some app open. You just are going to need to be collecting some words and some information. So get all your supplies. Okay. I'm going to give you a moment, and I'm going to take a drink of water. Got your supplies? Are you ready to roll? Okay. Is anyone not ready? Okay, since no one has said, I am not ready, I'm going to imagine that you've got the supplies you need. All right, so I'm going to walk you through 3 questions, and I'm going to model each question. And question number 1 is this. I want you to think of somebody you admire. What descriptors come to mind? And then you're going to write down a list of those descriptors. So let me show you what I mean. I'm thinking of somebody I have in mind, this person that I really admire. And when I think of her, these are the descriptors that come to mind. She is kind, she is brave, she is generous, she's compassionate, and you can see my list goes on. So what I'd like you to do right now on your paper or using your technology is think of somebody you admire and write down the descriptors of that person. Because I can't see you in person, I'm setting an alarm for me for 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes to write down as many words as possible. Go for it. So we're halfway through the 2 minutes. Keep thinking. Think of someone you admire and write down descriptors of that person. Keep it going. All right, if you can wrap up that list of words, we're going to go on to the second question out of 3. So the next question, I'm going to show you the question and read it to you, and then I'm going to model it. The next one is a little stranger. It's a little weirder, okay? So stay with me. Let me show you it first. Let me model it, and then I'm going to set you free. All right, so the next question, question number 2, is I want you to think about what angers or annoys you, and you're going to write down the opposite. Okay, and let me model this on the next slide. So here we go. I'm thinking about what angers or annoys me. Here are some things. What angers or annoys me is someone who is not motivated. I am annoyed by lying. It angers me. I get annoyed when somebody is closed-minded. And I believe the opposite of those, and that's what you're going to do. You're going to write down the opposite. If someone is lacking motivation, you can see I've written down what I'm saying I value is someone who takes initiative. And if I'm telling you that lying angers me, you can see what I'm saying I value is that integrity is important to me. Do you see how that works? You think of what bothers you and annoys you, and you write down the opposite. Okay, so let me flash those directions on the screen. Think of what angers you or annoys you, write down the opposite. Okay, I'm going to be quiet. This one is the hardest of the 3 questions. Okay, by the way, if you need any help, type it in the message block. Like maybe you're like, I'm annoyed by somebody who's always late. And if you can't think of what you're saying the opposite of, I can help. All right, we're halfway through the time. 1 more minute left. Keep pushing yourself to think of what angers or annoys you. Sometimes I even like to say, think of what pisses you off, okay? And then write down the opposite, okay? Again, if you need my help thinking of the opposite, throw it in the chat window. I'm happy to help. All right, wherever you are with that second question, you can stop right there. We're going to keep adding to the list, okay? We're going to keep adding to this list of words. Are you ready for the last question? I'm going to imagine you are, so I'm going for it. This one tends to be an easy question because you're very warmed up at this point. Question number 3, think about what brings you joy and then write down a list of words that come to mind. So let me model that for you again. So you can see I'm starting here under the red line, things that bring me joy, and I'm listing them. What brings me joy is the outdoors and creative thinking and family. And gosh, I love coaching so much. I could talk about that all day. Coaching. And I love learning. And I love reading really good books. And I love teaching. And I really love people. Okay? So now it's your turn. Write down a list of what brings you joy. There's probably going to be a mix of verbs and nouns, and who knows what else is going to show up. But keep that list going, and I've already started the time for 2 minutes. I'll be quiet while you do that list.
So Jen, it doesn't matter how long their lists get from these 3 questions?
So Sonia just asked, does it matter how long the list gets? No. I mean, the more words, the better. But even what I've modeled in front of you is enough words. But really, the more, the better. So I think in that 2-minute chunk, just keep pushing yourself to list words. The more, the better.
Great.
We're halfway through the time. You have 1 minute left. Push yourself to come up with more items, more people, more places, even more activities that bring you joy. Keep that list going. All right. If you could wrap up that list of what brings you joy would be great. And because I've never done this activity as a webinar, it really is new for me to do it in this way. I'm just curious. There is absolutely no wrong or right here. Could you just add up and just count how many words you just came up with? And could you just throw them in the chat window and just say, I have 25 words on my list, and it's all the words combined. Don't think of it as 3 separate lists because of the 3 questions. Think of it as one gigantic, awesome list. So just add those up, throw it in the chat box. Cool. I see 16, 19, 22. This is great because when I see people in person and I'm with a client, I can see how many words, but obviously I cannot see you. 18, 15, great. 25, yes. I like Bonnie put a little smile. 25, it's going all the way in Idaho. 49, great. Okay. And again, there is absolutely no right or wrong on the number. Somebody wrote overachievers. That's awesome. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Okay, we're going to move on. And remember, this is the same activity I do one-on-one with a client. We're just doing it webinar style because the topic is identifying your core values. Okay, this is like a critical piece of most coaching is helping a client identify their core values. So we're moving on. Here's the next step. Now, I want you to look at that list. So if you have 16 words, 49 words, 18 words, it doesn't matter. Think of it as one big list. And I want you to underline 3 words, only 3 right now, that resonate with you or move you at this moment in time. If I were to ask you to do this a week from now, 3 other words might stand out. But right now, I want you to pick 3 words that resonate with you or move you. Okay? Go to that list. Pick out 3. I'll be quiet for a moment. If you're confused about what to do, this is what you do. You look at that big list, you pick out 3 words, you can underline it, highlight it, circle it. Okay, 3 words that are standing out to you. If you are stuck, because I cannot see you in person, if you're stuck, you just go with your gut at this moment. That's your intuition. If your intuition's like, boy, I really like that word burrito. Maybe you said what brings you joy is eating burritos. Okay. And you're like, there's something interesting about that word. Then you underline it right now. Okay. Don't get too stuck on which 3 words. You just pick the 3 right now that are speaking to you because we are going to move on. Okay. So get your 3 right now, just like I have my 3. And we're going to move forward. Here we go. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take the 3 words that you've underlined and find a blank space on your piece of paper. Maybe you got to flip the paper over, or if you're using technology, just move further down in your document. You want to capture those 3 words. So I have brave, creative thinking, and people, and you want to add them on another page so that you have some space underneath them. Okay, so do what I've done here. I've taken my 3 words and I've put them on a fresh spot because I'm going to be doing some work with those words in just a moment. I'm going to give you a moment to get your 3 words corralled. I will be quiet for 20 seconds. All right, my guess is that you have the 3 words corralled and you're ready to go. If right now you are feeling rushed or you're a little behind, just type me a message to let me know to slow her down or give you 1 more second. I'd be happy to do that. Sometimes when I'm working with clients, it takes them a little bit more time. They're picking their words and they're being extra careful, and all of that is lovely. Of course, we're in a webinar, so I'm trying to keep things moving forward, but I also want to make sure that you're getting your needs met. So just give me a little message if I can help you in any way, slow things down. Some of you might be thinking, can we speed things up? And I would love to, but again, I'm trying to work with everyone here. Okay, here we go. So now we are going to move on to the next step, and this is exactly what I do with a client, is we're going to do what's called word strings. Okay. And word strings consist of keywords or phrases. I will model it for you so you know what it looks like, and then we'll move forward. All right. So what you have seen here is I have my word brave that I underlined for my lovely list of words. And now I'm going to do a word string of all the other words, about, I don't know, at least 4 to 7-ish words that come to mind when I think of the word brave. So for me, when I think of the word brave, I think of risk-taking, I think of adventure, I think of being a go-getter, I think of all the possibilities that exist, and I think of taking initiative. So do you see how that works? You take that original word, you think of all the other words that have something to do with it. Now, let me tell you the next step, okay? And then I promise I will shut up and let you actually do this for yourself. So once you have brainstormed about 4 to 7, 4 to 8 words that come to mind based on your original word, okay, I want you to consider that whole group of words. So I'm considering brave, risk-taking, adventure, being a go-getter, possibilities, and taking initiative. And then what you're going to do is you're going to think about, for that cluster of words, what is the one word that really summarizes the spirit of that value? Okay, because that's what we're talking about here. All those words represent the spirit of one of your core values. Now, I'm going to go on a limb here and say, even though I do love the word brave, for me, what really summarizes this is not necessarily brave. For me, it's this: taking initiative. You see it underlined right now? To me, that really sums it up, because I feel like when you're brave, you are also taking initiative, and you are taking risk, and you are oftentimes on an adventure, and you are oftentimes, and most often, being a go-getter. So do you see how that works? So you're going to do that word stringing with each of your words. So let me show you it one more time, and then I'm going to set you free. So when I think of the next word that I chose of my 3 that I underlined, creative thinking, I think of ideas and fun and things being engaging and new or novel. And again, there's that word possibilities. I think of possibilities, and I think of discovery. Okay, so again, I've listed my set of 4 to 8-ish words that come to mind. Then again, I'm going to look at the whole cluster of words, and I'm going to decide what word, what label really sums up the spirit of all those words. Is it creative thinking that I started with, or is it one of these others? And for me, what really does sum it up is I really do like creative thinking. I think when I think creatively, all these things naturally happen. Okay. And I won't walk you through people, but the same thing applies. You brainstorm your keywords that are connected to your original word. You consider the whole cluster, and then you decide what's the one label that brings it all together. And for my last one, the one label is actually connections. All right, it is now your turn. This is probably the most challenging part for clients when I meet with them in person, is now doing the word strings. It will take you every bit of 4 or 5 minutes to do this for each of your word. So I'm going to set an alarm right now. I'm going to check in about 2 minutes. If you have any questions, you're going to type them in the message box. But go slow, but keep moving, because we're in a webinar together. You're going to think of your keywords. You're going to circle them and know what the spirit is, and then you're going to identify one word that really sums it up. And if any of that is confusing, type in the chat box, and I am here to help. Okay, go for it. All right, we're about halfway through the time. I'm unsure about pacing 100% because I can't see you. I'm going to go for 2 more minutes again. Again, your goal is for each of your 3 words to do a word string and then figure out which label summarizes the spirit of that value. So keep it going. If you have any questions, put it in the chat box. Okay, we have 1 more minute left. Keep working on those word strings. If you happen to finish before I call time, you can just throw in the chat box that you're done. That will help me gauge how quickly to move for a future webinar, because it's my first time doing value mining online. So Scott, thanks for letting me know you're done. I'll be quiet for the last minute, but please type in when you're done if you happen to get done ahead of time. All right, I think that's enough time. I'm not 100% sure. So if right now you could use just an extra 30 seconds or a minute and you can hear me, just type in that little box like, hold on, Jen, I'm almost there. And I'd be happy to just kind of slow down a moment while people are just wrapping up. Just a reminder, this is the same exact thing I do with a client one-on-one. It really is the foundation for the style of coaching that I like to do, because if you have a life target, it's so much easier to have a fulfilled life and hit that target. I do this sometimes with groups of people or departments. Sometimes I do public speaking and do keynotes. I've done something similar with about 400 people at once. So webinar is new to me, but this can be done with lots and lots of people. I think is very valuable to their lives and living a fulfilled life. All right, since no one is telling me to slow down, we are going to go to the next phase. So for each of the words you originally identified, you did your word string, you picked one label or word that sort of represents the whole spirit. Now, if you remember, I underlined taking initiative, creative thinking, and connections. Now you're going to corral those ultimate words, the words that really run the word string, and you're going to put those in a new space, okay? Those are your core values. Bonnie just waited and said, it's tough to circle just one word, and I get it. Sometimes it is. Sometimes, you know, it's tricky to look at the spirit of the words and pick one word. So corral your 3 big words that represent the spirit of each of your word strings. Put those in a fresh space. Those in a fresh space. So you can see I've taken my 3 core values that you saw me identify in the model: taking initiative, creative thinking, and connection. And if you go to a page in my journal, that really is my core values. That's the lens I use to live what I like to call a highly engaged, fulfilled life. What wasn't in there is joy is one of my big values. So today I had you pick 3 words and underline them and then do the word strings. Sometimes with clients, I will do about 3 to 5. Okay. I usually don't do more than 5. It's sort of hard for us humans to focus on too many values at once. 3 seem like the optimal amount for this webinar. You can see my core values: joy, being connected, creative, and creative thinking, and then taking initiative. So those are 3 that I live by in my life, and we're going to talk even more about that. So what I'd like to do now is do a values share. In the chat window, you don't have to explain any of it. Can you please type the core values that you identified, the ones that you wrangled, the ultimate ones that won out in each of your word strings? Just throw them in there. You can put a comma between them. You don't have to. Let's hear what your values are. You know mine. What are yours? Ooh, let's see. Sonia's from Rockville. Humanity, inquisitive, visionary. Ooh, I love those. They're very juicy. I bet you're fun to work with, Sonia. Passionate, family, sharpen the saw. Ooh. I want to point out, since Scott put sharpen the saw in there, all these words, these values have to mean something to the person. It does not matter what they mean to anybody else in the world. So if for you family represents ABC and I go, well, family represents, XYZ, it doesn't matter. These are your values. No one else's. Let's see. Noelle has integrity, fill needs, and nourish. This is great. Love this. Anybody else willing to share theirs in the chat box? Giving you a moment to see what those values are. And we'll talk about what the heck to do with them now that you've identified them. Let's see. Jacqueline, her values are integrity, giving, and connection. Ooh, those are really great. I'm so curious, Jackie, where you work, because I feel like those values could really get fanned in the right organization. Anyone else want to share their core values? Oh, there was some sped by. Pushing the limits, results, and toys. Oh, I love that, toys. Sometimes people have the most interesting core values and you're so curious about what it means. Bonnie from Idaho, authentic, courageous, connections. I really did write this one down before I saw yours, she said. Absolutely, Bonnie. You know what? A lot of times people will say that connection is a shared core value of all humans. I just really differentiate that one being mine, just like you did, because it's so, so important to me. It's like a showstopper. And Vanessa, we'll stop with yours, is honesty, decisive, and open-minded. Okay, fantastic. Thank you all for sharing. I really appreciate that. All right, so let's talk about what do you do with these core values. So now you have them. You're as cool as Zappos. They have 10. You have at least 3. Okay, you just shared them publicly. What do you do? So the first thing you do is you live them, okay? You honor them. You share them. You remind yourself you actually have them, because there's no sense in identifying your core values right now if you're not going to remember you even have them. You also use them to make decisions, and you use them as your life compass. Because here's the bottom line, y'all. When you live your values, the rest of us feel it. Okay, let me say that again because it's that important. When you live your values, the rest of us feel it. So if your values are like Noelle, which is integrity, fill needs, and nourish, when she's living those, okay, and she shows up to work and she's honored them and lived them both probably at home and also at work, the rest of us feel it because she's most likely alive, okay, alive and engaged and fulfilled. And if we take Scott's passionate, family, sharpen the saw. When he's living those in his home and work life, we all feel them. And you know those people. You know those people you love to be around, and you love to be around them. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's because they are living their core values. So let's talk about how you can use these right away. Let's make this really practical. So today, I'm obviously leading this webinar. And when Sonia and Patty, who's our colleague at the college, emailed me months and months ago and said, hey, Jen, would you be interested in leading a webinar on identifying your core values? Okay. And again, this is sort of part 2, though you don't have to have listened to the Zappos webinar, but it really grew out of the Zappos webinar. I kept talking about core values and they said, well, let's just do a webinar on core values. And when I got invited, what I did was I took my core values, joy, connected, creative, and taking initiative, and I thought, will I honor my core values if I do this webinar? Absolutely. It brings me so much joy. Look at that giant check mark I put next to it. This is fun. Anytime I get to talk about anything that has to do with coaching, it brings me joy. I don't know if you can hear it in my scratchy froggy voice, but I am so joyful about what we are talking about. Next, do I feel like this is making me a more connected person? It is. Even though I cannot see you and all I can see is your names and your amazing values in the chat box, I feel more connected to you. I do. I feel more connected to the human race. I feel more connected to my colleagues in my job here. All of that because I'm doing this webinar. Next, do I feel creative? Absolutely. I got to put this whole webinar together myself. I got to work on the flow and what it looks like. I feel very creative in doing it. And did I get to take initiative? I did. I really got to drive my life. When they invited me, it wasn't like, you have to do this, you're a college employee and you must. It was like, are you interested? And I was like, I am interested. And we took initiative to set up the date. I took initiative to put the whole presentation together and work on the flow. So this is what I like to call a 4-check situation. And if you have 3 values, yours might be a 3-check situation. And for me, it is a no-brainer. You don't actually have to pay me most times, even though I do like to earn a paycheck. I will be real here. You don't have to do much for me when I am living all my values. Okay. This happens a lot at work. Somebody will invite me to do something and I will think about, will I honor joy, my need for connection, creativity, and taking initiative? And if it's all of those, I say yes. Okay. Now let's look at a situation that may not be 4 checks. Okay. And because I didn't want to talk about a work situation, although I'm sure we could think of many, I thought of a situation from home, emptying the dishwasher. Because at my house, that darn dishwasher needs emptying, it seems like every day. Does emptying the dishwasher bring me joy? Big X. It doesn't bring me joy. Yes, I like having clean dishes and I like them to be put away. But the actual act of doing the dishwasher, not so much. Does it make me feel connected? Not really. I mean, I don't feel connected to any other human because I'm usually doing it by myself because nobody else is around. I don't feel like I'm a better member of the world population by emptying the dishwasher. Does it make me feel creative? I can't say it makes me feel creative. The dishes all go in their usual spots. There's really nothing creative about emptying the dishwasher, in my opinion. Does it allow me to take initiative? It does get a check. Okay, I've taken initiative. I know a task needs to be done. I've gotten it accomplished. So in this situation, it's what I like to call a 1-check situation. And my guess is you have in your life things that honor all your values and things that honor few or even sometimes none of your values. So then the question becomes, well, what do you do when you are up against something that is a no check or a 1-check situation? Because if we just take the dishwasher, it has to be done. Somebody has to do it. And if you think about how this applies to work, let me think of something that's kind of a 1-check. So I don't know about you, but I'm on many different work teams, and committees at work. There are some that bring me so much joy. I feel so connected, so creative, taking initiative. It's like a 4-check group. And there are some where I will do almost anything to avoid that work group. It just doesn't honor my values. But you know there are times, both in your home life, but also in your work life, where you have to do things you don't want to do. So what do you do? Okay. So you have choices. You can cry. I've done that a few times. You can scream. That typically doesn't get me too far. You can kick someone, which I've actually not tried, but I'm thinking that if I was a little more, I don't know, had more anger, that would work. You could exercise. Yes, some people like to release stress that way. You could find a new job. You could say, my values are never honored here. I'm just going to find a new job. And by the way, sometimes you do need to do that. You need to wake up to the fact that your values are not honored at work. You could get a divorce or break up. Some people, I've got a few friends in my life right now, they're in relationships where their values are not being nurtured, they're not being honored. That's a big wake-up call to either get real about the relationship or potentially break up. You could hire a coach, and I would highly suggest that before doing anything drastic, because oftentimes with values, one, most people don't even know their values. Okay, that's why today is so important. And two, once people know their values, then the next piece comes is you've got to start being aware of them. So I've got homework for you coming up. I don't want to jump the gun here. And at the end of the day, you need to get real about these values because you are in total control of your life. So what you do in a 4-check, a 1-check, a 2-check, a whatever check situation is in your control. You actually can't blame anybody else. So let's get back to the dishwasher. I would love to blame somebody in my household about the dishwasher, and that's not going to help anybody. But yet those... Oh gosh, I think I got muted for a second. You can see in this situation, can everyone hear me okay? Yes?
Yeah, you're back, Jen.
Okay, sorry, it looks like I got sucked out for a minute in the webinar vortex, but I'm back. So in situations where your values are not being honored, instead of just rushing away from them, breaking up, divorcing them, leaving them behind, you can think about how to honor them. So look in this box that I put up here, this green box. What can I do when I'm doing the dishwasher and it's not that fulfilling to do? What can I do to make it more fulfilling? Look at what I've started to do. Okay, I've started to time myself. In fact, I'm really surprised that I can get that darn dishwasher done pretty quickly. So instead of complaining about how I don't like it, I'm amazed that I can get it done. And I'm not kidding, about 60 seconds. I can play music, which is what my family always likes to do. Sometimes if somebody's around, I'll invite my daughter or husband to help me. And since that is an opportunity to have a conversation, I'm thrilled. One of my favorites to do, I don't know if you're like me, I can put a podcast on right now at any point and I get totally excited. There are times where I'm doing the dishwasher and I wish I had 10 dishwashers to empty because I just want to keep listening to my podcast. Sometimes I will make myself a tasty beverage, like a fun smoothie while I'm doing the dishwasher. And then there's other times where I'll say to myself, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to reward myself after. Okay, I'll incentivize. Now, we're using the dishwasher as an example, but you can probably think of many times in your life where your values were not being honored and you still needed to do the task. Okay, and that can happen a lot at work. So let's take a moment here and slow down. Okay, using the chat box, what I'd love you to do is fill in the blank. I believe that when I live my values fully, Okay, now fill in the blank. What's the impact do you believe when you live your values fully? Type that in there. I'm going to jump on the keyboard myself. I believe that when I live my values fully, I am living a fulfilled and engaged life. So true. See, Sonia from Rockville said, I believe when I live my values, I am happy and most productive. Yeah, absolutely. Noelle said, I believe when I'm living my values, I am fully living. Yes. Scott said, I believe when I'm living my values, I enjoy life. Absolutely. Someone else said, I succeed. I have joy. Yes, y'all get it. Okay. When we live our values, not only does it bring us joy, engagement, fulfillment, but it becomes contagious to others. Okay, which is so amazing. I said several slides ago that when you live your values, everybody else can also feel that. Okay, so I have homework for you, and then I will take any questions that you have. Okay, so here's your homework. And this is the same exact homework that I give coaching clients because it's that important. Okay, you have now identified your values. And please get your cell phone out so you can take a picture of your homework. Okay. What I'd like you to do is start noticing which values you are living and honoring. Just start noticing. If one of your values is being courageous, when does that one sneak into your life? Are you living it daily? Is it getting the attention it needs? The second part of your homework is to notice which values you are squashing or rubbing against. Okay? Super important. I just admitted that doing the dishwasher rubs against my values. Okay? Think about what else is in your life that's rubbing against your values. Sometimes it's a person. Sometimes it's a family member. I've had clients tell me that they were, excuse me, really surprised they have a whole core group of friends that rub against their values. What fun is that? Okay? It's almost like, what kind of friends are those? Certainly people will start thinking about their work life and is their values supporting their work and helping them live in honor, or is it squashing or rubbing? Last but not least, so get your phone out and take a picture, is once you've done that noticing, when are you living and honoring, when are you squashing and rubbing, then what will you do with that information? Okay, you have critical information about your values and its impact on your life. What will you do next? So have your cell phone out, take a picture of this slide. And then the second thing I want you to take a picture of is your core values. So if you wrote them down on a piece of paper, take your cell phone, take a photo. And the reason that's important is what happens with clients is if they don't start on a daily basis to be thinking about their values, then oftentimes they forget they have them. So what some clients tell me is they'll take a picture of their values and they will make that their home screen on their phone. So when they turn their phone on, the first thing they see under the date and time is their 3 to however many values that they've uncovered. I've also had clients take their values and put them on sticky notes. They'll put one on their computer at work. They'll put one on the mirror in their bathroom at home while they're brushing their teeth. They'll be looking at their core values. Because if you don't keep these in view, it is awfully hard to remember that you have them and you want to live them. Okay. We have a few minutes. What questions do you have? I'll try to bottom line some answers. If you'll just add them into the chat box, would be awesome before we wrap up the webinar. So what questions do you have? Core values, living them, squashing them, your homework, anything related. I'm going to take a drink of water. Noelle?
So Jen, Noelle has a question. Yep. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Is there value in repeating this exercise? And if so, when? So that's a great question, Noelle. I have now done this for myself. Oh, it must be like 25 times. I tend to circle around the same, I don't know, 4 to 8 different values. And so, yeah, there is worth in doing it. And I wouldn't say you need to do it right away. The values that you identified today are pretty much the core of who you are. There are probably a few more you could add. So if you did this for you again, you might extend your list instead of just underlining 3 words. Maybe you underline 6. But I would also say that right now, I would say just focus on these. Get really good at living and honoring these 3 before you move on to something else. And Noelle, you're going to have the recording of this webinar. This is something that you could share with your colleagues. I've done value mining with every single person in my family. I've done it with my mom. I've done it with my teen niece. I mean, kids have value. I mean, it's just every human has values. Okay. So it is something that can be repeated. And I don't think for you, Noelle, since you've just gone through it, that you need to repeat it right away. I think right now, live them. And then let's say, I don't know, maybe 3 months from now, maybe you want to repeat this again for yourself. See if anything else sneaks in there. Sometimes sneak in there. For example, I did this recently and the word transparency snuck in there. And I realized how much I really value being upfront and explicit. Okay. Does anybody else have a question? And Noelle, if you need more, let me know in the chat box. Anyone else have a question? And Noelle, you're welcome. And thanks for clarifying. You bet. Last call for questions. Alrighty then, let's celebrate, y'all. This is what, my 2nd or 3rd webinar ever, and we all survived. Bonnie just said thank you, and you are so welcome. I want to thank you all for attending and doing this exercise with me. Let's all celebrate. Scott said, whoa, yeah, let's celebrate that we all saved $125 to $350. Okay, so we're now on the last slide. I mentioned before, please reach out. I am so serious. If you cannot tell, I am in it to win it with coaching. I'm in it to win it with people living their values. It is that important to who we are as humans. And again, everybody gets to reap the benefits when we all live our values. That's how you find me, Jen Lara. Maybe get your cell phone out and take a picture of this slide. It may be valuable, because I would love for you to contact the college and say, we want more. We want more value work. We want more coaching. We have lots of cool stuff centered around coaching here at the college. Also, there is Corporate Training Group, who was so kind to invite me today. They are just a bunch of rock stars, okay? And they offer so many cool things that help businesses grow and support their employees. So you can see their information there. Scott just asked a question. Sonia, I think you'll know the answer. When will we be able to get a copy of the presentation? When does this webinar go into the archives?
It'll be posted on our website with all of the other archived webinars, but it will also be sent out to everyone that signed up for the webinar, obviously including those that were able to join us today. It does take a little while to compile the recording, so it's typically sent out somewhere between 24 and 48 hours after the webinar, just depending on technology and how quickly it's working that day.
Awesome. Thanks, Sonia. So, Scott, it sounds like you're going to get it before the weekend in case you want to share it or just revisit it. Would be great. So, y'all, that's it. We are done for today. I am so thrilled that we got to do some value mining. I just think this is one of the most important things about being human. Knowing your values, setting your life compass to them, and really just living them and being aware when they're being squashed. And knowing how to help yourself out when they are being rubbed against. All right. Let's say goodbye in the chat box. I'm going to type in there, goodbye. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Jen, thank you so much for taking us through this highly interactive, facilitated exercise. We really appreciate it. Everyone, if you have questions, our email addresses are there. Please feel free to contact us, and have a great rest of the day and week, and we hope to talk to each of you very soon.
All right, everyone. Thanks. See you again. Bye.